The movie opens with Brenner Baker and her husband Dylan driving down a peaceful country road,
Morning, sunshine. You okay?
sunlight streaming through the trees as they share a quiet moment. Dylan is a police officer with the Atlanta Homicide Unit, while Brenner is military special forces. Despite the tranquility of the drive, Dylan is haunted by nightmares, remnants of a recent and violent encounter during a case gone sideways. In one such dream, he relives the moment his partner was badly injured while he narrowly escaped death, managing to subdue their attackers. The dream snaps and Dylan wakes with a jolt, covered in cold sweat. Beside him, Brenner glances over with a warm, reassuring smile but says nothing. Her presence grounds him as they continue their journey. Their peace is soon disrupted by the aggressive honking of a vehicle behind them. The driver pulls up beside their car and starts making catcalls at Brenner. He leers and sneers, shouting crass comments. He says he loves her and mocks her husband by asking if she's ever been with a real man. He even proposes marriage mid-taunt. Dylan, unfazed, knows Brenner is more than capable of handling herself. With zero tolerance for nonsense, Brenner flips the man off. While she is cool and composed, the driver is visibly hurt and disappointed. He speeds off, defeated for the moment. Later, the Bakers stop at a roadside diner for a meal. Dylan heads to the restroom to change his bandages. The bandages imply that the nightmare he woke from earlier was rooted in recent trauma. As her husband visits the convenience, Brenner picks a table and settles in. Moments later, the same obnoxious driver from before returns, this time with a few unsavory friends. They surround Brenner, looming and full of swagger. The ringleader, now revealed to be named Butch, smirks as he greets her. He reminds her of their earlier encounter on the highway and states that she was not very friendly to him. Brenner coolly replies that he was acting like an asshole. Butch laughs, calling her mouthy. One of his thuggish friends steps forward and makes a vulgar gesture, claiming he knows how to shut her up.
Something to shut that mouth, Butch.
Your name's Butch?
Before tensions explode, Dylan returns. He tries to defuse the situation. Speaking calmly, Dylan tells Butch that he and his wife don't want any trouble and are just passing through. But Butch is not interested in peace. He's eager for a fight. Just as he's about to swing at Dylan, an older waitress, known simply as Mama, steps in with a stern warning. Her presence is commanding and seems to affect Book's bravado. In an unexpected comedic twist, Butch immediately backs down and tells his crew to leave the couple. Mama then seats the Bakers and takes their order. She compliments the couple, remarking on how good they look together. When she asks what brings them to town, Brenner explains that they're just traveling, taking time away from work. Because of Butch's earlier antics, Mama insists that their meal is on his tab. Dylan tries to refuse, but Mama won't take no for an answer. As they return to the road, Brenner thanks Dylan for stepping in earlier in order to save her. But Dylan chuckles and says he wasn't protecting her. He was protecting them from her. Their journey takes them farther into the countryside and away from civilization. Eventually, they pitch a tent and begin camping. One evening, as they sit by their campfire, a stranger approaches. A woman from the area, cautious but not unkind. She says she noticed their fire and came to check on them. She warns them to stick to the trails, explaining that the locals don't take kindly to strangers wandering where they shouldn't. Brenner and Dylan thank her, but they do not take the warning seriously. The next day, they go hiking, laughing and savoring the fresh air and scent of nature. But the weather quickly turns. Rain pours from the sky, and they rush to take shelter. They find an old house with a covered porch. Brenner suggests they wait inside where it's dry. The house is deserted, but surprisingly well kept. As the storm roars outside, the couple gives in to passion and make love inside the strange dwelling. Elsewhere, the scene shifts to a small-town church during Sunday service. Mama is among the congregation, chatting warmly with fellow parishioners. She praises the pastor, claps along with the choir, and drops an impressive wad of cash into the offering plate. She is an ideal congregant in every way. Butch and his friends are also present, blending in, masking their true nature beneath polite nods and folded hands. When one of the thugs tries to flirt with a young woman, Mama interrupts him. She tells him to quit fooling around. She further tells him to go home to make sure everything is ready. Back at the house, the Bakers have finished their tango and are dressed up. They are preparing to leave. Dylan fiddles with his bandage, which has come loose as a result of their horizontal dance. Brenner takes the opportunity to explore. Something about the place unsettles her. The bars on the windows, the reinforced locks. It doesn't look like a house meant to keep people out. It looks like a cage designed to keep something or someone in.
Help me move this thing.
No, I will not be your accomplice. Come on, we need to leave. We're already trespassing.
Dylan urges her to stop snooping. He reminds her that they've already trespassed too far. But Brenner's instincts have kicked in. She's alert, curious, suspicious. Soon, she discovers a hidden door. Behind it is a stash of weapons, high-grade rifles, explosives, and tactical gear. It's a hidden arsenal. Dylan turns pale. He repeats, more urgently this time, that they need to leave immediately. But it's already too late. Butch and his men arrive, taking them by surprise. They knock the couple out cold. When Brenner regains consciousness, she is groggy and bruised. Dylan is tied to a chair, and Butch is beating him mercilessly. Brenner begs them to stop. Butch demands to know who sent them. He is convinced they're undercover. Dylan, through bloodied lips, insists that they're just on vacation, but Butch doesn't believe him. He keeps punching. Brenner screams and tries to shield Dylan, only to get struck herself. Outside, one of Butch's men brings him new information. He has gone through the couple's things and found Dylan's police badge, Atlanta homicide. He informs Butch that they're not federal agents. They weren't sent. They're not here on assignment. They're just a cop and his wife taking a break. A coincidence. A mistake. Butch now realizes Dylan was telling the truth. Still, he has no intention of letting them go. Cold and remorseless, Butch pulls the trigger, shooting both of them. He orders his crew to dump their bodies in a nearby gully and dispose of their belongings. The goons do as ordered. They do what they always do when blood is spilled. They make the mess disappear. Dylan's body is dumped like waste, dragged through the underbrush and rolled into a shallow gully. Brenner, presumed dead, is also flung into the gully, but death hasn't claimed her. Not yet. The bullet only grazed her temple, enough to knock her out, enough to fool the bastards. As the last of them trudges off into the woods, she blinks through a haze of pain and blood. Her ears ring. Her limbs are stiff. Her heart pounds with something darker than fear. She crawls toward Dylan's lifeless form. He's gone. She knows it before she checks. The warmth has left his body. His mouth is slack. The strong hands that once held her are limp and useless now. Her fingers tremble as she removes her dog tag and clasps it around his neck. This is her vow. She chokes on a sob, forcing it down like bile. She covers him with the forest offerings, leaves, moss, dry shrubs. It's not much, but it is something. A burial for her husband, for the only man who ever made her feel safe. Grief tears through her, sharp and sudden. But she doesn't scream. She doesn't wail. She closes her eyes and lets the silence carve out space for rage. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't fate. This was a hit, and someone's gonna pay for it. She pulls herself up from the gully, dizzy but determined. The forest stretches out before her as she navigates her way. She takes each step with a purpose now. The trees sway gently above, unconcerned by the vengeance gathering below. As she pushes forward, memories chase her. Dylan laughing, shirtless in the sun. Dylan kissing her forehead. Dylan tightening his grip around her waist as they dance to a cheap radio crackling with old blues. That campsite, once their sanctuary, is now ashes and ghosts. Everything is gone, erased, burned clean by men with cruel smiles and bloodied boots. Then she sees an axe buried in the trunk of a tree, weather-worn but strong. She wraps her fingers around the handle and pulls it free. It groans as if protesting. She doesn't care. She lifts it, tests its weight, and nods. It will do. She doesn't want justice. She wants blood. Meanwhile, dawn breaks over Butch's residence. The air is thick with grease, sweat, and tension. The men stir, grumbling like wolves roused too early. Women move silently between them. Thin, scared women whose eyes flick from the floor to the plates, never making contact. The women serve food, pour drinks, and swallow their screams when harassed. One of Butch's men, slouched in a kitchen chair, leers and says they should have kept Brenner alive. He states that she might have been useful around the house, especially in the bedroom. Butch chuckle at this. Then Mama walks in. The same woman from the diner. She's revealed to be in the know. She tosses Butch a glance and tells him to eat fast as they've got business to tend to. He obeys without question. Soon they're packed up and gone, a truckload of heat and muscle. The drop point is a clearing half a mile out. Weapons change hands for bundles of cash. Greed is a language everyone speaks fluently here. While they trade death for dollars, Brenner slips back into the house that stole everything from her. It's nearly empty. Just one man left behind, idling around. He doesn't hear her until it's too late. She attacks him with a stake she sharpened herself, using the axe she found on her way through the woods. She beats him with the stake and sinks it into his gut with a sickening crunch. He gasps, but she doesn't stop, not even when he starts to scream and his blood spatters all over. She steps back, panting. The man lies twitching, dying. She watches until he stills, but it's not enough. Her fists are clenched. There's more work to be done. She pushes deeper into the house. The creaking boards beneath her feet seem to echo with Dylan's voice. She sees him everywhere, his smile, his hands reaching out to her as he bled. She doubles over, overcome with fury and grief. Then she bolts back into the woods and into the wild. She comes across two of Butch's men out there, moving crates and shuffling supplies, probably prepping for Mama's next venture. In a smart maneuver, she attacks them separately. They don't hear her until her blade finds its mark. The first man crumples under her, stabbed over and over until the light in his eyes fades. The second tries to run, but she's quicker. She pulls him down with a garrote and slices him repeatedly with her blade. But for reasons best known to her, she lets him escape. Brenner then sets their stash of goods on fire with the keg of gasoline and lighter she finds. Boxes, documents, gears, everything. She douses everything with gasoline and watches it burn. The flames rise high, orange against the sky. When Mama hears the explosion, she stiffens. Then she orders Butch to go check it out. He doesn't argue, just grabs his keys and peels out. Driving through the winding road, Butch doesn't get far before he sees the bloodied man Brenner kept alive, hobbling like a broken animal. Butch pulls over and demands to know the situation. It is here that Butch finds out that Brenner is still alive. As the men speak, Brenner steals into the car's trunk and waits. Brenner is in the back, curled in darkness, her hands wrapped around the axe like it's an old friend. The truck rolls slowly over the gravel path that leads back to Mama's place, unaware that Brenner lies curled up and silent in the trunk. Every jolt of the vehicle echoes in her battered bones, but she grits her teeth and waits. The injured goon, the one she let escape, is ushered back into the house by his companions. Brenner then gets out from the trunk and watches from a distance, concealed by brush and shadow. She observes their habits, their routines, the way they handle security, and she waits for the right time to strike again. Word eventually reaches Mama that Brenner has survived. The revelation hits hard. Mama's face tightens with fury. She calls Butch to her quarters and disciplines him without mercy. Her voice is low but sharp. The threat behind her calm tone is enough to make Butch bow his head. She tells him to fix it, to make it clean, and make it final. Meanwhile, Mama tasks another goon named Lawrence with digging into Brenner's background. What he finds gives them pause. Brenner isn't just any woman with a vendetta. She is the first female ranger in her district, a decorated athlete, skilled in survival, endurance, and close combat. Mama doesn't like what she hears, but she likes being caught off guard even less. She orders the compound security tightened and Brenner's trail monitored. While Mama recalibrates her defenses, a local cop patrolling the woods stumbles on the mutilated body of one of Brenner's victims. He radios it in, and soon other officers arrive at the scene. They survey the gory evidence. One officer, while studying Earl's corpse, states that it must be part of Mama's clan. Another aligns with his observation. Their chatter reveals something deeper. Mama owns over 10,000 acres of land. It is her empire, built on blood and fear. Sheriff Sanders, the previous sheriff, had told his men to steer clear of the area. It was an unspoken agreement, but Sheriff Hobbs isn't Sanders. He says so plainly that he is new and he isn't here to play games. He decides to confront Mama himself, but word travels fast. A dirty cop within Hobbs' ranks phones Mama ahead of time and warns her. She smooths her hair, sets the dining table, and greets Hobbs with a smile that barely conceals her disgust. She plays innocent, claims the dead goon had been depressed lately, and that she'd seen signs and feared that this day would come. Hobbs listens, but his eyes narrow at the lies. Who stabs themselves 6 times in the ribcage? He asks. Mama feigns heartbreak and remains steadfast in her narrative. Hobbs has no warrant and no evidence, so he leaves empty-handed. After the sheriff and his men leave, Mama remarks that tonight they would celebrate their fallen comrade, but by the next morning she wants Brenner's head. They celebrate their comrade as planned. They light a bonfire, pour drinks, and share stories. One of the goons notices they haven't heard from Cletus, who is supposed to check in. Cletus is the first man Brenner killed, but they do not know it yet. Mama tells them to look into it later, and with that, they drink themselves numb. Later that night, the wasted men dispersed. Butch, drunk and staggering, stumbles out toward a distant shed to relieve himself. He doesn't make it back. Brenner strikes him from the shadows. The fight is fierce. Butch is strong and brutal, but she is faster. She takes several hits, her jaw bleeding, her ribs cracked, but she doesn't stop. She stabs him in the neck, and as he gurgles and slumps to the dirt, she drags his body away and conceals it. At dawn, she crouches in silence, hiding behind crates near the compound. A scream draws her attention. One of the goons is dragging a young woman by the hair, slapping her as she begs. Brenner holds her rage and waits. When the man is gone, she slips out and creeps to the cages that hold the women. They stare at her with wide, hollow eyes. She whispers that she is here to help. They panic, begging her not to, because if the men catch them escaping, they'll pay with their lives. Brenner promises she'll be quiet, that she'll get them out. One lock at a time, she pries the cage open. But just as they make their way out, one of the women cries out. The noise alerts the guards. Shots ring out. One woman falls, blood pooling beneath her. Brenner grabs the remaining woman and runs. They weave through trees, bullets whizzing past them. Brenner ducks and rolls, protecting the girl, named Emily, with her own body as they flee. Back at the house, Mama is told of Butch's death. The compound stirs in panic.
You say Carl's after her, right?
Yeah.
One woman has done all this. Mama calls in backup. Trucks filled with fresh goons pour into the land. They see the carnage and marvel at the damage caused by this one woman. In the woods, Brenner and Emily keep moving. They fight off another small group, this time together. Emily isn't trained, but she fights like someone who wants to live. By nightfall, they collapse by a stream and build a small fire. They wait in silence until Emily speaks. She is pregnant. Butch is the father. Brenner tenses. Emily looks away and says that Mama is into more than blackmail and extortion. Mama traffics women, using the land, the sheds, the back rooms of her establishments to move girls across state lines. The fire crackles. Brenner says nothing. Her fists clench, jaw locks. Her rage has only grown, and her desire to end Mama and the goons has severely heightened. Brenner promises Emily that she will fight until Mama can never hurt another girl. She shares the fish she caught from the stream and roasted over the fire, and together the women eat in silence, their bond deepening over the crackling embers. The next morning, while Brenner cleans up, she hears Emily scream. Rushing back, she finds that a group of goons has seized the girl and are dragging her away. Brenner wastes no time. She outsmarts them, overpowers them, and frees Emily. But before they can regroup, a new threat emerges. The cop, the same one who earlier discovered Earl's corpse, steps into view, gun drawn and trained on Brenner. His voice is tight with suspicion. He wants to know what side she's really on. Brenner tries to de-escalate, lowering her gun slowly, hands open. She tells him they're not enemies. Before he can respond, a gunshot rings out. A new goon arrives, hidden in the brush, and shoots the cop clean through the thigh. He collapses in agony. Brenner reacts instantly, dispatching the shooter with ruthless precision. She turns to leave the cop behind. He's bleeding, helpless, a liability. But Emily throws herself between them. She begs Brenner not to abandon him. Brenner snarls that he's not their problem. They're barely staying alive as it is. But Emily holds her ground. She reminds Brenner that not long ago she wasn't her problem either. Yet Brenner saved her, helped her, fought for her. That stops Brenner cold. With a curse under her breath, she drops to her knees and applies pressure to the wound. It is messy, makeshift first aid, but it's enough to stop the bleeding. Then, together, the women hoist the injured cop between them and stagger onward, every step a battle. Eventually, Brenner hides the cop beneath a thick grove of trees, the ground cool and shaded. She crouches beside him and tells him plainly to stay put. If he moves, if he tries to be a hero, he'll die. The cop nods, too weak to argue. Brenner and Emily continue their desperate sojourn, winding deeper into the woods. But the enemy is closing in. The goons now have dogs and are tracking their scent. The barking grows louder and closer. Then, the sound of a vehicle hums in the distance. Brenner raises her gun and steps onto the path, eyes sharp. She orders the driver out. To her surprise, it's the woman from earlier, the one who warned her and Dylan to stay on the trail. Brenner hesitates, then lowers her gun. Exhausted and out of options, she asks the woman to drive them to safety. They climb into the vehicle, the rhythm of the engine lulling them into sleep. Their guard slips. For the first time in days, they close their eyes. But when they wake, they're not safe. They're back in Mama's compound. The woman Brenner trusted has betrayed her. She's one of Mama's own. Mama orders her underlings to drag the two women back into the house. As Mama prepares to execute Emily for abandoning her post, Brenner lies. She states that Emily is pregnant with Butch's child, and that she forced Emily to come along as leverage. Mama, intrigued by the prospect of a grandchild, changes her mind. She orders Emily back into service, sparing her life for now. Then Mama turns to Brenner. She lists every offense: trespassing, killing her boys, sabotaging her operations. For all that, Mama says, Brenner will suffer, that Brenner will die. But Brenner meets her eyes with unblinking calm.
So shall you die for yours.
She doesn't plead. She doesn't cower. She tells Mama that the last thing she'll ever see in this world is the bullet between her eyes. Mama's smile fades. Brenner is taken away, beaten, tied, and tortured. Days blur. Her body breaks, but her mind sharpens. Somewhere in the house, Emily watches, waits, plans. One afternoon, as a guard mocks Brenner's broken body, Emily makes her move. She creeps up behind the guard, a kitchen blade hidden in her apron. She stabs the guard repeatedly, vengeance in every thrust. Again, and again. Blood sprays. The man collapses. Then Emily rushes to Brenner, cuts her loose, and thrusts a first aid box into her hands. Brenner tears it open, finds adrenaline, and slams the needle into her thigh. Her body jolts to life. Energy floods back into her limbs. She's ready. She storms out, bloodied but blazing with fury. One by one, she hunts down the goons through the compound, silent, swift, surgical. No wasted bullets, no hesitation. She defeats them using every ounce of her strength, cunning, and combat skill. At last, she comes face to face with Mama. But before she can pull the trigger, Mama drives a blade through Emily's neck. Emily collapses, gurgling and dying in Brenner's arms. The sight breaks Brenner, shatters her focus, and Mama slips away. The film is fast forwarded as 3 months pass. The cop Brenner helped out is alive and well. He goes about his work with a sense of duty and dedication. One day, his phone rings. He answers. It's Brenner. She tells him to stay alert as she may need him from time to time. The scene shifts to Mama, who lounges in her estate, bathed in comfort and confidence. She believes the storm has passed, that Brenner is gone, that vengeance was a moment, not a promise. She is wrong. She doesn't see the glint on the ridge, nor does she hear the rifle chamber around. She only sees one thing, a bullet, right between her eyes, just like Brenner promised. The movie ends as Brenner wipes down her sniper rifle, locks it into a case, and slides it into the back of her truck. She climbs into the driver's seat, the sky turning gold above the trees. Without a word, she drives off into the horizon. The end.